WAUK Radio 540 AM and 101 FM is produced right in the Shaw in beautiful downtown Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics. Please allow me to introduce myself. Here is your host, Mike Crute.
And welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. I am not Mike Crute. Mike has the day off today. I am your other host, Dom. We got Fancy Brian on the boards. We got Evan screening your calls. You can join us on the phones at 844-967-2789. One hell of a weekend, man. It seems like it's been a long time since we've been on the radio. Happy 4th to everyone who made it through. Brian, was great to see you over the weekend, and had a blast. Of course, it's the 4th of July. It's the holidays. Everyone's out having fun. Well, not everyone. And of course, the news. Here we go again. Welcome to the MSA, the Mass Shootings of America. I know how much Republicans love this country. They love the MSA because we are getting killed on a daily basis in this country. Of course, Highland Park, Illinois, a northern suburb of Chicago, a affluent suburb of Chicago. This goes to show you that there's no reprieve from this. There's no hiding from this. It's the weapons. You can say what you want. You can offer your thoughts and prayers. But I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it. If there were only pool noodles available for this mass murderer, there would still be people alive today. So if you've been listening to the news and paying attention, you know kind of what the deal is. So I want to move forward, update. Let's do the updates and just move along, right? Let's start with the number of mass shootings because it's, last time we talked about it, hell, it was only a couple of weeks ago, right? In Texas, according to the Boston Globe, there have been at least 314 mass shootings so far in 2022. There have only been 186 days. Now, I'm not going to do the math on the radio, but, the Boston Globe will do it for us. The rate of mass shootings so far this year is outpacing the number of days in the calendar year, according to an organization that tracks them, that organization, Gun Violence Archives. They say there have been 314 mass shootings in 2022 for an average of about 1.7 per day, about a D minus. The tally includes the deadly rampage in Highland Park, Illinois, in which a gunman opened fire on a 4th of July parade, killing 6. Well, now we have learned the update there. 7 people have now been confirmed dead and injuring dozens. I mean, literally dozens. As the Boston Globe reports, there were at least 5 other mass shooting incidents identified by the Gun Violence Archives on July 4th, including one in Boston. And that is a shooting in which 4 or more people are shot, not including the shooter. So 4 or more, not including the shooter, is a mass shooting. 1.7 per day, 314 so far this year. So what? We're on pace. Well, we're halfway through the year, right? So we're on pace for over 600. Does that sound about right? You do the math on the radio, Fancy Brian?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
How soon are we going to end up at Death Race 2000?
It is totally. I brought that up over the weekend, and of course it's gallows humor, and of course it's the 4th of July. And as soon as I heard the news, I'm thinking, how appropriate. This is mass shootings of America. I mean, we cannot go a day without a mass shooting. This is again only counting the mass shootings, 4 or more people shot. There's all sorts of people getting shot all the time, everywhere, with all sorts of weapons. I mean, we're selling like 1 million guns a month in this country.
Yeah, I mean, we focus so much on the mass shootings. We really should celebrate all of our individual killings because
Well, I think you're right.
that's the important thing is that how many people can we kill with our guns each year, right? Is
Yeah,
that what we're doing?
that's what we're doing now. Are there
Seems to
government
be.
statistics for us on this?
I don't know,
thing?
but we got more guns than
I
people.
mean,
We have more guns than
and of course, we'll get to some other police shootings as well today. But hey, you know what? Don't fret. We're gonna have some good times. We're gonna cry. We're gonna laugh. We're gonna have Bill Press coming back at 5 o'clock. Always good to talk to the Godfather of progressive radio. So make sure you stick around. Of course, you can join 844-967-2789. So of course, then there's the standard reaction, right? Oh, there's a country in Europe that just had a mass shooting, and this, they banned these weapons, didn't stop that. Yeah, well, they have like one every, I don't know, 2 every 10 years, not 1.7 per day.
I mean, they got to work harder to get back up to again.
Yeah.
The United States keeps setting such high standards. The rest of the
We
world,
do. We really do. I mean,
compete,
that's why we're better than everybody.
and that's really it. Thank you so much for pointing that out.
Chicago Sun-Times. This one, and of course, he couldn't help. The Boberts and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and all the Mitch McConnells. Pick your mega fascist and the gun loving Second Amendment folks. Again, you can ban rifles and certain kinds of rifles and still not be in violation of the Second Amendment people. So you can get over that little fact. But I couldn't help but this one really, really, really got me. The Chicago Sun-Times. GOP governor nominee figures, his name's Bailey, a state senator, Darren Bailey, apologizes after telling the public to move on and celebrate the 4th shortly after Highland Park massacre. I mean, literally bodies are still bleeding out. The bodies are still warm. And this guy, oh, he jumps on a Facebook live stream, Brian.
To be fair, amity does mean friendship, and the beaches are going to be open, and we're going to have a great 4th of July.
Yeah. And he's still in Jaws too. The Republican nominee for governor, Darren Bailey, has apologized for telling the residents to move on from the Highland Park mass shooting 90 minutes after the horrific attack unfolded on the 4th of July and more than 6 hours before a suspect was arrested. Bailey, a state senator from Xenia, started live streaming the video at 11:44 a.m. on Monday to his 111,000 plus Facebook followers from Skokie, where Independence Day festivities were canceled due to the tragedy in the nearby North Shore suburb. The shooting started at 10:14 a.m., authorities said. I can do a little math on the radio. That's 90 minutes, an hour and a half after this maniac crawls on top of a building and starts randomly shooting innocent civilians. We don't have a motive yet, but he had a rifle. He had a high-powered rifle. And I would imagine he probably wasn't trained too well in the fact that, only 7 now are dead and dozens are injured. If that was a trained marksperson, a trained shooter, perhaps it could have been a whole lot worse.
But this guy running more, that's great.
This guy running for governor of the GOP, let's move on. Here's what he said.
Get over it.
Standing in a parking lot surrounded by about 20 supporters, several children, while details of the attack were still scarce, Bailey offered prayers for the families. Yeah, of course he did. Of the victims and law enforcement responding to the scene about 15 miles away from where Skokie's own parade was supposed to take place. Quote, there's a lot of confusion and frustration that the Skokie parade is being canceled, but they did the right thing because people's safety has to come first.
That's a very interesting concept.
Yeah, so sounds good so far, right?
Extrapolate from there.
Well, let's continue. The shooter is still at large, so let's pray for justice to prevail. And then let's move on and celebrate the independence of this nation. 90 minutes after this guy murdered bunches of people, shot dozens of people, the GOP for Governor Bailey, Darren Bailey, time to move on.
Well, it's standard police procedure to just, when a murder suspect is out there, to just stop, pray a little bit. They'll come around. God will find, a way to bring that person back to them, and then just go party a little bit. Why not?
As a side note, I did hear some reporting today that the shooter drove to Madison Wisconsin and back, like his phone was pinged or found in Madison, something along those lines. I haven't researched or gotten into that part of the reporting.
Please have just been a VPN.
Right. From the Chicago Sun-Times, Bailey, who won the GOP gubernatorial nomination in a landslide last week, he then pivoted to politics. All right, so let's remember, this is all back to back. I know we're kind of embellishing here, but I want to say this so you can understand the timeline here. 90 minutes after the shooting, the suspect still at large. Let's pray for justice to prevail, and then let's move on and celebrate the independence of this nation. We know the mission. We have got to get corruption and evil out of our government, and we've got to elect men and women of honor and courage to get this country and this state back on track.
Well, by Republican standards, that's actually pretty quick. I mean, Donald Trump didn't do anything in that time frame in the January 6th situation. So
187 minutes.
I mean, good. That's half.
Terrible.
Way to go. That's under half the Republican standard for reactions.
No, they're getting better. He closed by leading supporters in prayer. Well, of course he did.
Always the most important.
The gunman was not taken into custody until about 6 hours later. Some people were killed, at least 30 wounded. Bailey's call to move on was swiftly condemned on social media. You think?
Imagine how many would have died if they hadn't break.
This is what happens with mega-type candidates, tweeted U.S. Rep. Adam Kinzinger, who's been getting his own death threats, referring to Bailey's endorsement from former President Donald Trump. They have been so trained with own the libs and anger that they lost the ability to have compassion. Bailey's campaign did not respond for a request for comments from the Sun-Times, but through a spokesperson, Bailey told the Daily Beast, quote, "I apologize if in any way we diminish the pain being felt across our state today. I hope we can all come together in prayer and action to address rampant crime and mental health issues and make sure these horrific tragedies don't happen again."
I'm sorry if you were offended.
Let's see. Prayer, action, addressing crime and mental health issues. What's the one thing that seems to be missing from his assessment? Oh, that's right. The guns. The guy had a wet pool noodle. Everybody would still be alive. You see what I'm saying, folks? 844-967-2789. JB Pritzker, he's got some comments on this as well. I'm sure you do as well. Give us a call. We will take your calls. Bill Press at 5-844-96-PARTY. We'll be right back.
You are going to ignore this particular problem until it swims up and bites you on the ass.
Get over it. Why don't you stop talking for a while?
Make sure you remember in your thoughts and more importantly in your prayers.
Shut up, you little weasel.
Reservations at your favorite restaurant.
I've been trying to reduce gluten. You don't want to know why. Thanks so much for waiting. Your table's ready.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed.
Perfect, thanks.
Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates, never personal, only politics.
Relative to population, I believe Waukesha County is running like twice the mortality rate of Dane County.
Right. Well, and then you and your wife braved Mayville to see the band or the play.
But man, I'm vaxxed, I'm boosted, I'm feeling pretty good about life. Well, I don't know about good shape, but I'm vaxxed and I'm boosted.
Yeah. Did you have a couple glasses of wine up there?
No wine, lots of rum, tum.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Taking your kids to their first baseball game. Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We won't forget about you. You can join us on the phones, 844-967-2789. Be patient. We'll go there momentarily. I wanted to wrap up the Chicago Sun-Times piece. Once again, the Republican GOP mega endorsed candidate for governor of that fine state. Well, after 90 minutes after the shooting, when his own town's parade got canceled, he started a Facebook live stream and said, "Hey, let's pray and move on and celebrate the independence of our nation by getting the evil and all those bad people out of government." I mean, the bodies are still warm. So as his opponent, of course, the current governor, well, I'll just read the Chicago Sun-Times here. Here we go. Bailey is widely considered the underdog in his campaign against incumbent Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker in November's general election. I think he might be a little more of an underdog today. Pritzker, a billionaire who put millions of dollars behind an ad campaign aiming to boost Bailey in the Republican primary because he was viewed as a weaker opponent, called for stricter gun control measures while speaking in Highland Park hours after the attack. Here's what Pritzker had to say. "Our founders carried muskets, not assault weapons, and I don't think a single one of them would have said you have a constitutional right to an assault weapon with a high-capacity magazine, or that it is more important than the right of people who attended this parade today to live." 844-967-2789. Thoughts and prayers. Here we go. I can't even have these conversations. It seems like nothing moves the needle. And I just, in having conversations with other, call them Republican, right-leaning, independents, whatevers, my takeaway after talking to a few of those people this weekend is, and I asked them, how do we get you to latch onto and to understand an issue? And the response was, well, you got to make it personal. You got to make it personal. And while I think that's certainly important to try to, to relate to and to resonate with another person, and that's why I think talking is a very important part of this. The delivery and exchange of ideas, very important part of this. Now, I'm not interested in getting to know the intricacies of someone's fascistic thoughts. But if someone, votes for a Republican, but it's more independent, and all of a sudden realizes as a woman that, wow, these Republicans are taking my rights away, and I don't want to have an abortion, but perhaps if my kids were raped, they should have the ability to go get one without having to go out of state, et cetera, right? There is openings for conversation for, I think, a lot of people out there. And I really enjoyed this weekend meeting all sorts of different people. And a lot of people know I'm on the radio. A lot of people know that I lean left these days. Wasn't always that way. I always maybe a little left. But, I've come along through conversation and hanging out with Prudy and all you fine folks on the radio, and my own research, my own experiences, and my own reading and my own interpretation of, where I was when I was 20 or 30 or 40, and now in my 50s, and where we are as a country, where I think we should be. And everyone's got, their own journey and their own experiences. So I think it's important to meet people where they are and be able to try it. I mean, make the effort to bring up and have a conversation about an issue that they recognize as something that they are perhaps a little hesitant on because of, their political parties, the Republican parties, the MAGA's support for instance, forced state birthing. So I don't know, I got to go off on a little tangent there, but that's a big part of me, the celebration of the 4th and enjoying this country and appreciating what this country has to offer. That's a big part of it.
For me, when I have conversations with people, especially on the gun topic, I make them understand that the person that committed this crime is one of us. You can't just go, because a lot of times they use the mental health aspect, like they were just crazy. Some crazy person did this, not one of us. But if you go and make them realize that your son that's in high school, that's your son's friend. That's the kid that, your son or somebody else's son ignores, that type of thing. You have to humanize these people to realize that this is one of us. This is a product of our society. And once you start making them look around them and go, that could be one of our people.
Right.
That's
And
when
that
you start
makes it
making it
personal.
really home. Yeah.
Yeah, really, it does. That's a great point. A couple other notes on the shooter. Apparently, the police were aware of this person. They were called to his home, I believe, for a suicide attempt. And also, I believe in 2019, after that suicide attempt, there was apparently some mental health professionals came in. There was no state charges or anything in that regard. But apparently later, he decided he made some comments about wanting to kill everyone. And in that particular situation, the police did show up and seized 16 knives and a sword. 16 knives and a sword. Let's get some callers in quick. 844-967-2789. Dick from Madison, you're up. Welcome, Dick. What do you got for us?
So it's a rerun, but can I make an amendment, Brian, to what I said about, I don't want to hear any of the politicians talking about, we're better than this. I'm going to add to it what you guys were talking about, thoughts and prayers. I don't want to hear either one of those stupid little slogans after yesterday, okay? Because it's obvious we're not better than this, as I told those guys earlier. I mean, we're not better than this on numerous things. Gun legislation, women's rights, climate change, voting rights, racial situations, nothing across the board. Are we better than this?
No, don't forget about healthcare, Dick.
Right, that too. Something that since 1948, Harry S. Truman tried to get through. But, other than that, I don't want to hear either one of those stupid cliches. Thoughts and prayers or, we're better than this. No, we are this.
That's exactly right, Dick. This is exactly who we are. I mean, to a T. How it doesn't get any more American than a mass shooting at a parade on July 4th. That is who we are. More of your calls next, 844-967-2789. We can always change it. Let's make an effort.
Sure. I'd be happy to. Yeah, you just produce a corpse and I'll release Sloan. I want to see this dead grandmother firsthand.
Did you say you wanted to see a body?
Pucker up, Buttercup. Get over it.
The Shaw 101 FM.
You know what? I'll tell you something.
Berlin's
There's
choice
nothing
for News Talk Radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
I'm Peter Pekarsky, a U.S. Senate candidate approving this ad paid for by Pekarsky for Wisconsin, asking what kind of world do you want to leave to your children and grandchildren? A world where Ron Johnson uses his Senate vote to change the tax code so another $79 million stays with 3 of his rich campaign contributors instead of paying for Wisconsin schools and roads, or a world where Peter Pekarsky is a U.S. Senator working for all the people of Wisconsin. Tell us what you want at PekarskyForWisconsin.com.
Smart Asset Realty offers everything necessary to help you successfully evaluate, acquire, and maintain any size property and maximize a property's potential value. Whether it's the first time you are purchasing a house or managing your next apartment complex, we are here to reach your real estate goals. Start investing now. We take the headaches, you keep the profit. Contact us at 262-232-8738 or visit us at smartassetrealty.com.
Se habla español.
AP News. I'm Ed Donovan in Highland Park, Illinois.
It is impossible to imagine the pain of this kind of tragedy until it happens in your backyard.
Mayor Nancy Rodering spoke after the names of 6 people killed at yesterday's 4th of July parade were released. A 7th person has died. Charges are expected to be filed soon against the accused gunman, Robert Cremo III. Lake County Police spokesman Chris Cavelli says Cremo had planned the attack and managed to get away by dressing as a woman. As far as a history with police, Cavelli says there were 2 incidents in 2019, one about Cremo attempting suicide.
A family member reported that Cremo said he was going to kill everyone, and Cremo had a collection of knives. The police responded to his residence. The police removed 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword from Primo's home.
Police in Illinois have not determined a motive. In Mississippi, a judge rejected a request by the state's only abortion clinic to temporarily block a state law that would ban most abortions. Without other developments in the clinic's lawsuit, the law will become effective in Mississippi Thursday. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is clinging to power after two of his most senior cabinet ministers quit, saying they had lost confidence in Johnson's leadership amid shifting explanations about his handling of a sexual misconduct scandal.
If I had my time again, I would think back on it and recognize that he wasn't going to learn any lesson, and he wasn't going to change.
The prime minister was forced to backtrack on earlier statements about a scandal that has rattled his government for the past 6 days. The governor of the last remaining eastern province, partly under Ukraine's control, urged more than 350 residents to flee as Russian troops escalated their offensive. Russia declared it had seized the neighboring Luhansk province. The Dow down 129 points. This is AP News.
For the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, I'm Sam Buxton with your headlines. The city of Waukesha postponed their 4th of July fireworks display due to yesterday's severe weather threats. It will take place on a later date. Nearly all fireworks in the Milwaukee area were canceled or postponed. The Republican authorized review of the 2020 election has now exceeded 1 year and more than $1 million. The review, authorized by Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, began on July 1st, 2021, and has exceeded its budget by more than $300,000 in a review that has been filled with blunders from former Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman. Gableman has admitted to deleting records related to open records requests and has threatened to jail election officials and mayors despite not having the authority to do such a thing. The Milwaukee Brewers beat the Chicago Cubs yesterday 5-2 after Victor Carazzini hit a walk-off 3-run home run in the bottom of the 10th inning. They are set to continue their 3-game series at American Family Field later tonight. You're listening to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
The Devil's Advocate, rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocate radio show. Your calls always welcome. 844-967-2789. We will go to the phones. Certainly, Brian, a little Stone Temple Pilots rocking out this weekend at Summerfest with you at that concert, man. That was a lot of fun. Dude.
That was a lot of fun. I really like STP a lot.
The 90s grunge music, the 90s rock and roll and the combination with all the rap that was coming out, it was some of the most awesome time in music. And I'm an old guy, so I can say that.
And of all those grungy type of folks, Stone Temple Pilots is from San Diego, not Seattle, but they also changed. Their first 3 albums were all completely different sounds, and they were complete albums as well. And it's one of the last times that any of that stuff happened as well. But I really love the Stone Temple Pilots a lot. It was really good to see them with their new frontman, who looks a lot like their old frontman, Scott Weiland.
A little bit.
Does not have the same charisma.
Or a drug problem, we hope. But,
but it's also
sounded
very
great.
good.
I'm not
taking anything away from him. I'm more just saying that guy was really good.
Yeah.
And Scott Weiland was amazing.
And the band was tight. I mean, they've been playing a long time.
Yeah, they were tight. They were really good.
Well, and that's that's the thing. So Summerfest here in Wisconsin, the world's largest music festival. A dozen stages, a big amphitheater, a couple big stages, and some smaller stages. And anytime I see a mass of people like that, I can't help but think, all it takes is one crazy dude to come in and just start pop, or gal, but usually it's younger white men that are doing these mass shootings. And again, I guess to be thankful, perhaps it's good that he was not a military trained, marksman. I mean, but to be perhaps a rookie with a gun, I don't know this to be the case, but I'm assuming that the guy didn't spend hours and hours on the range, right? To be a rookie with a gun and to be able to, pass out that much death and mayhem and destruction in that short of a time frame. How do you not look at the mechanics, the weapon? How is that not part of the equation?
Was this an AR-15 again?
It's a rifle. I haven't heard a specific brand.
I interviewed a guy who's a gunnery sergeant who trained, during Vietnam era, past post-Vietnam era, on train people how to use a machine gun. And, AR-15s are a variation down the line of that. And the design of the weapon is so that you don't have to aim well. The design is that all you have to do is just barely graze anybody and they're done.
Point and click. Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to do. And it's also because the instinct of a regular human being is not to kill somebody. And so this kind of counteracts the, privates, when the privates in the front lines and they're shooting people with a machine gun, it makes it easier to kill someone without when your body doesn't want to.
And obviously the result is carnage. Some of the reports I saw out of Illinois was, wartime wounds that people were, if you're hit, you're dead. If you're grazed, you're probably going to live. But if you get struck, you're dead almost instantaneously. And we heard the reports coming out of Texas with the kids that were, blown apart, decapitated. These are awful, awful, horrible weapons. And you don't need to be a trained marksman to be efficient at shooting random unarmed people. It's amazing how easy that can be. And we're making it too easy for them. And so any of the Republicans or the GOP say, well, thoughts and prayers. And I know McConnell referred to, well, we addressed some mental health issues in our last bill. Well, it's never done. We got to continue to push, continue to get better. And I've evolved on this issue, man. When I first, I own weapons. I don't have an AR-15. I don't have a rifle like that, but I have a shotgun and I got a semi-automatic pistol. And but I'm not into gun porn. That's not my thing. But over the years, and we continue to see after the assault weapons ban expired, and we see the statistics, it's hard to deny. And while certainly, if you're in a foxhole, you probably don't want to, be loading every, time you take 10 shots. So your larger clips would, be better. But we're not in foxholes, and we're not fighting the tyranny of the U.S. government. And even if we were, I'm pretty sure the howitzers and the jets are going to do away with you and your AR-15. So I'm not exactly clear what the philosophy is, or what the constitutional standing of the Republicans are, because they're already accepting the fact that they don't get howitzers, you don't get an M1, you don't get a lot of these weapons that the Army and our armed forces have. And are you suggesting then you should get a suitcase nuke that could take out a block or a couple square blocks? Because everyone who gets mad all of a sudden decides to flip the switch. That's what we're dealing with. Any little mental issue, if you don't have that weapon around to use, you either maybe going to get over it, or it's not going to result in the same kind of devastation that if you go out and purposely do these kinds of things.
Maybe, Dom, it's, that if you have enough money and you really worked hard enough all your life, you can have a nuclear weapon of your own. Right? Isn't that the American dream? Come on. We just need to make it expensive enough that only the select few can have them.
Yeah. Wow. 844-967-2789. LA Tom from the leftist coast. Welcome, Tom. What do you got for us today?
Hey, guys. First off, we the people are the government, and we must never forget that.
Yes, brother.
Second, the Republicans are the pro-death party. No, instead of saying thoughts and prayers, we probably should be starting to correct people and say register and vote. Replace the words thoughts and prayers with register and vote. Because that's what we need to do to get these nuts out of Congress.
Yeah, they're not going to do it, Tom. There's no convincing Marjorie Taylor Greene to do anything in this regard. It's just not going to happen. This is not going to. We have to overwhelm them at the polls, and there's more of us out there, and the more of us that get shot, the more of us that lose loved ones, the more we're going to be engaged to do so. But that's the whole point of empathy and understanding, Tom. You don't have to experience it for yourself to recognize the pain that it causes.
Absolutely. And like I said, so whenever anybody hears thoughts and prayers, just replace those words with register and vote. Because I'll tell you what, we have all these people showing up for rallies and all this kind of stuff. Are they all registered? Are they all ready to vote? Because if they're not, they need to be. That's the only way we're going to get out of this mess, is if everybody gets out and registers and votes blue. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Amen. We have our problems on the Democratic side. Money in politics is the biggest issue of all of this. it's a thread that holds it all together. But bottom line is we have to get more Democrats in power. We have got to have a supermajority and, hold them to account in terms of what they're going to do. And don't let another election go by without holding them completely to account and not ending up with some type of, Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin type down.
Yes.
So just register and vote, everyone. It's the only way, it's the answer to get us out of this whole mess.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Register and vote. Tom from the left coast. It is very important. I would imagine. I mean, my daughter's 17. She's already been protesting, and it's probably more of her mother's influence than mine. I'm only recently been more civically engaged. Of course, vote and all that, but talking politics on the radio, and realizing that this is us. We talk about the mass shootings of America, the USA, we're the MSA, and the Republicans. Well, we're better than this. We could be better, but you don't want to do anything legislatively to make us better. So this is us, and in the same time to register and vote. We are not engaged as we need to be as a country. It is our responsibility. And I say it 100 times. I don't want that kind of responsibility, but we have to do it, because if we don't, we end up with other people making those decisions. We end up with other people who I don't think have the wherewithal to worry about what my concerns are.
I think the more these shootings occur and the less action that happens, I honestly think the less people will vote. The less that happens on any gun control after every mass shooting, I think the less people, I think
people get more apathetic.
People will become more and more apathetic and realize that we're all on our own.
That's a terrible thought. 844-967-2789. Let's get some good thoughts. Jeannie from Eau Claire. Welcome, Jean. What do you got for us today?
Well, hi, guys. You know what? We're not on our own. We're all in this together. And we are the people. And we are the government. And we're the only ones who can change it. Biden can get up there and Democrats get up there and fight back and forth when Republicans, have the vote. And they got the bully pulpit to spread all kinds of lies. They're the greatest at creating chaos and death. They really are. And they love it when we're in chaos. And then they can even spread more lies because we're so worried about the situation, chaos and fear. That's their thing. Whenever anything's going on to get things fixed in our country, they create chaos and fear. They're really great at it, and that's a fascist way. So we do have to get out there and vote, and we do have to tell everybody to get out there and vote, because we're the only ones that can change it. They can't change it without our help. We're the ones that have to open our mouth, let the people know what the heck is going on, let them know of the lies, encourage them to watch the hearings, and that's our responsibility. They can't do it for us. So if we're sitting here and we're pouting about what's going on, we're pouting about gas prices, the wealthy people are getting richer as people are, their prices are going up on daily living. Well, you know what? You can sit there and whine, or you can get out there and vote the Democrats in, because the Republicans are not the old Republicans. They're fascists, and they don't give one last fuck about the deaths in our country, or they would have been standing up and doing something about it already. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, and it's a lot more to do that. You guys have a great day, okay?
Thank you, Jeannie. You too. It is worth a lot more than it, and you are very spot on. We appreciate your calls. 844-967-2789. Mark from the SAC, you're next. Welcome, Mark. What do you got for us?
Yeah, what does it take for these Republicans to be empathetic about stuff? That it has to actually touch them personally for them to actually feel empathy for what is going on, for this kind of thing. I mean, apparently it doesn't exist for them. I mean, it didn't exist for Scott Walker when that kid was killed at Summerfest in 2010, and apparently trying to cover up when that kid got. Well, the kid's body was thrown to the concrete. They're looking up ways to try to deflect the Walker's responsibility.
Yeah, the political reaction to a real tragedy. At some point, Mark, if your first reaction is how does this affect me politically, you probably should not be in that job.
It's correct. I mean, it is just disgusting. I mean, and who the hell needs more than 5 rounds in their weapon? You know, if you're out hunting. I mean, the old pump actions and semi-autos, and even the old lever actions. Lever actions have like 5 shots in the magazine. My old pump action rifle, which was the same as the magazine as the semi-auto at the time for Remington 7.62 4 rounds. You don't need any more of that when you're out hunting. Why the hell do you need 30-round magazines if you're just a civilian? This is just ridiculous. I mean, it is just asinine, and you don't need that kind of weapon anyway. Like you said, the government, if the government was coming over, they just bring a rocket in or shoot one of those.
Right, come on, right, dude. That's exactly what I'm saying. Oh, we're gonna fight. Yeah, good luck with that.
And then they bring 40 other things and then burn them later, and have the people that burn them and then refuse health care for them, and they would be dead later too. So way to go.
It doesn't make any sense. So what is it? So this is getting paid off by by the NRA, or they think that their constituents won't vote for them if they decide that we want to focus on some reasonable gun safety legislation? Because what is the end point, right, for Republicans? You want the Tommy gun, or is not having the Tommy gun is that unconstitutional for you, right? You want the howitzers or not having the howitzers? Is that unconstitutional for you? And as we hopefully continue to evolve as a species and as a society, we're going to come up with all sorts of new ways to kill each other. And so it's not going to get it's going to get a whole lot easier. And we're going to have a lot more of these kinds of questions to deal with. More of your calls then, Bill Press at the top of the hour, but your calls next, 844-967-2789. We're the Devils. We'll be right back.
The House of Representatives has passed on to the Senate, and the Senate's getting ready to do something. Hopefully it'll get done, where we will come up with a solution, and a really good one.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Dumb. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Speaker Voss, I understand you don't have any children. Does that mean he's been possibly practicing
sex with
contraceptives?
What?
Or is he just less than a man? How do you go through the entire life 3 wives later and no chitlins?
Shooting blanks?
Perhaps.
Pull and pray.
Doubtful.
Not getting any.
Unlikely.
Unable to perform.
More likely.
Paying for it.
I hate to judge.
We don't judge here. We're the Devil's Advocate.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstad at the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I am proud to introduce you to Choice, our new pink grapefruit flavored hard seltzer. Choice was made in collaboration with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin, and 5% of the proceeds from every can goes to support them and their fight for reproductive freedom. Choice hard seltzer tastes great and comes in at only 105 calories per can. Go to our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to find where you can buy Choice hard seltzer.
Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, the picks for political junkies everywhere.
And we're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open, going back to them right now at 844-967-2789. Lori from California, you are up. Welcome, Lori. What do you got for us?
Oh, hey, thank you. You know, we revere our Constitution like it's the Holy Grail, but you know, I mean, the sections of it are so outdated, and outdated really is not even the right word. You know, the governor got it right comparing muskets to AR-15, and you know, and our renegade Taliban Supreme Court right now. I could not believe the damage they just did in 1 week. But just one other gripe. This has been said before. It's pretty basic stuff, but just the idea that each state gets 2 senators. I mean, give me a break. You know, like New York, California gets 2 senators, Wyoming gets 2 senators.
Right.
It's just it's something that makes me pretty discouraged or apathetic. I hate to say, you know, but yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Lori, and I mean, I understand, you know, the premise, you know, it's created to make incremental change, right? And generally, I'd be okay with that, but it seems like, you know, the way that with the filibuster. I mean, where's the filibuster, right? If you got 51 senators that want to do something, why do we have to go through that entire process? I mean, so I'm down with you, Lori. I think we need a more reactive government. Because obviously people want different change, want things done differently in this country, and our government is not providing it for us. And we see the gerrymandering in the different states where, you know, the will of the people is not being done. Take a poll, look at the polling on any major issues, and many of them, the government is not responsive to what we, Lori, are looking for.
But throw the 2-party system in with that mix. I mean, the 2-party system doesn't quite work anymore. I don't know if it ever really did, but right now it's like, that has to go too. Our 2-party system.
Lori, we got one party now, and we got a fascist mega party.
Exactly.
So there's really only one party and authoritarianism. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Hey, Lori,
yeah.
appreciate you listening.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the call. 844-967-2789. CJ, you are next. Welcome, CJ. What do you got for us?
Yeah, hey, Dom. Thank you for taking my call. Your party distorts exactly what the Supreme Court did day after day. It's like Elon Musk. Your party believes in hate and division.
That's not true.
You could go on. Actually, your party's in control, is it not? This is your economy. This is your party's economy. This is Biden. He's doing.
Yeah, I saw
such a
gas prices are down like
job.
30 cents a gallon. That's good. That's good. We got a pretty good employment rate right now. The GDP is okay.
yeah.
I mean, we're on the verge of a recession, but you know, I got to put some of that on the last administration. But CJ, what's your point, man? Are you going to vote for a party that maybe doesn't do everything you want, or are you going to vote for the authoritarian, fascistic bastards that try to overthrow the government? Which one are you going to go with, CJ? Which one are you going to go with, CJ?
A single issue like your party does. That's the only thing you can do is misinform
Single issue. You guys
people.
have been
I got
about
lots of
abortion
issues,
for
man.
everyone.
Let me articulate them for you. Hang on a second, CJ. Let me articulate some of these issues for you. Gun safety. That seems to be on the tip of everyone's tongue right now. Abortion rights. That's one I think is important, because if you don't allow, quote unquote, allow a woman to have an abortion, you then are dictating to them how they must live. I don't think a lot of women are really down for that. We've won these battles already, CJ. You're the ones bringing them back up. I just gave you a couple. That's more than one. All right, we're gonna move on, man. It's not a single issue.
We
I got all
talk about
sorts of
guns the
issues.
entire time. The first thing he does is your economy. Great job. Way to be on it.
Yeah, but we're selling the crap out of some guns, man. I mean, if there's something in this world that we're good at, it's making and selling weapons.
Maybe
I'll
we
give you
should
that.
center our economy around selling weapons to everybody. Because
don't
most of
forget
the
the
time we
oil.
end up getting killed from other countries, it's with our own weapons. So good for us.
Yeah, great. 844-967-2789. Pat from Dane County, you are up. Welcome, Pat. What do you got for us?
Hi, I was calling in. I'm changing the topics a little bit.
All right, we got a couple minutes for you, Pat. What's up?
We're working on trying to help the healthcare workers in Dane County, and we have a public hearing tonight with the subcommittee formed by the Human Needs and Healthcare, Health and Human Needs Healthcare Department.
We did a public survey of healthcare workers in Dane County. 85% are looking at changing jobs. I work in a hospital, and I've seen, half the staff on a unit leave because they are so exhausted from working and not feeling support. It is a crisis that was brought forward before the pandemic, but the pandemic has only made it worse. And so the Dane County supervisors are having a public hearing tonight to look into the issues and try to develop solutions. Looking at how we can help the healthcare workers, how we can recruit new workers, educate new workers, and bring back some of those healthcare workers that left. And we would really like to hear from the public. They can register to talk at bit.ly/July 5 subcommittee. And we would really like to have healthcare workers call in and tell us what they think needs to be done. We're looking at getting some finance or taking some of the ARPA money that has been promised to the county and the state and doing something to help healthcare workers, be it in the hospitals, in long-term care, home care. We need help on all levels because we're in crisis. We have nursing homes that have entire floors empty because they don't have enough staff, which means people who are ready to discharge from hospitals can't discharge. So how do you get people where they need to go so that they can heal the best and still have beds ready for those acute injuries and our loved ones in the hospitals?
And Pat, we're all going to be in that system sooner or later, one way or another. Pat, once again, if people want to get involved or find out more or contribute their thoughts to where would they sign up to register to do that again?
bit.ly, bit.ly/July, July 5 subcommittee, SUBCOMMITTEE.
Pat, appreciate it. We love the healthcare workers. We wouldn't be where we're at without them. And for people, if you can get involved, certainly dial them up and give them your opinions. We are the Devil's Advocates, the Happy Hour coming up next. And I'm happy you're going to be joined by our pal, Bill Press, and you on the phones at 844-967-2789. We'll be right back.
We got to do something. Absolutely.
We'll deal with this tomorrow night.
Local older adults are in need of support through caring community volunteers. Help someone get to their medical appointment or grocery store, or lend a helping hand by providing seasonal yard cleanup support in the spring and fall. Volunteer with ERA's Senior Network by calling 262-549-3348 or visit www.eras.org. That's 262-549-3348 or www.eras.org.
Decorating your home is personal. You want your place to be unique. That's why you should check out Art and Framing 123 in downtown Waukesha. Discover home decor items from Treasury Hunter Ramona and original artwork by D.E., also known as Friday Night Live artist Dan A. Art and Framing 123 has a custom framing service for your diplomas, posters, Packer certificates, images on canvas, photos, and more. Art and Framing 123, 311 West Main, across from the hotel. Let them know you heard about them on the Shaw.
You are listening to WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W226DR Waukesha, always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue in Highland Park, Illinois.
It is impossible to imagine the pain of this kind of tragedy until it happens in your backyard.
Mayor Nancy Rodering spoke after the names of 6 people killed at yesterday's 4th of July parade were released. A 7th person has died. Charges are expected to be filed soon against the accused gunman, Robert Cremo III. Lake County Police spokesman Chris Cavelli says Cremo had planned the attack and managed to get away by dressing as a woman. As far as a history with police, Cavelli says there were 2 incidents in 2019 one about Cremo attempting suicide.
A family member reported that Cremo said he was going to kill everyone, and Cremo had a collection of knives. The police responded to his residence. The police removed 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword from Cremo's home.
Police in Illinois have not determined a motive. In Mississippi, a judge rejected a request by the state's only abortion clinic to temporarily block a state law that would ban most abortions. Without other developments in the clinic's lawsuit, the law will become effective in Mississippi Thursday. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is clinging to power after two of his most senior cabinet ministers quit, saying they had lost confidence in Johnson's leadership amid shifting explanations about his handling of a sexual misconduct scandal.
If I have my time again.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Bill Press. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Let's see. I didn't see you full. Oh, I see. Wait. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we see you.
Well, you did. Now you do. Right.
Oh, yeah, totally. Absolutely. We see you and you sound great.
But what happens, when you talk, the logo comes up for the show.
Yes, that's right. That is correct. The feed for the sound feed is all separate from different locations, but you're getting the sound feed from the Devil Radio. You're going to be talking to Dom, even though his sound is running through the Devil Radio.
Will I see him when he's talking?
You should see him now.
I see him up in the right-hand corner, but I don't see him full screen. At all.
What I can do is he's not going to be talking. Maybe up at the top on the top right, see view, and go to gallery view.
Oh yeah, got it. Yeah,
awesome.
So I see everybody right there now.
Yep. Evan and I are going to duck out. It's just going to be you and Dom, and then the Devil Radio at the bottom.
And what is this box here that's got a microphone and just an empty?
There's a microphone there. It should be a little green now that I'm talking. Actually, you should be able to talk to Dom now. You should be able to hear Dom.
Hey, Bill, what's going on, man?
Hey, how are you? Welcome back.
Thank you. You too. Welcome back.
Where the hell have you been?
I've been laying low, man, but I'm back with full force now.
You know, you can run, but you can't hide, huh?
Every time I try to get out, they drag me back in, Bill.
That's because you're so good.
Yeah, come on, you're too kind.
Hey, what's
Welcome back, man? It's good to see you, dude.
Thank you. Well, I've been hanging out with Crute once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, hell, I've been back now, I guess, since February. So I don't think I've had you. Maybe you've been on before that, yeah, or after that. But I haven't, because he was doing before me. No, he was doing 3 hours and I was doing 2. So now he's back tomorrow.
I didn't realize you were back at all. No, it was just him. Yeah, I've done a few times, right?
Yeah. Well, right on, man. I mean, obviously, it's been a while since I spoke to you, Bill. But I thought maybe we've been talking kind of guns and the whole shooting issue. We can pass on that, or you can, comment on it if you'd like. But I thought maybe we'd start, or we can get to obviously the Trump and Fulton County, and they want to get Giuliani now. This grand jury from Fawny Davis down in Fulton County.
Yeah. What were you saying? That's Georgia, right? Yeah. What were you saying about Trump and what county?
Trump. Giuliani's been subpoenaed along with Lindsey Graham and a bunch of the other folks.
Lindsey Graham, Trump. Giuliani and
Cheeseboro, Eastman, Jenna Ellis, and Cleta Mitchell from Foley, formerly of Foley and Lardner. We got some Wisconsin ties there, man.
Are we in the news now?
Yeah, we're in the news right now. Yeah, we'll come back in like 30 seconds. Do the 1 minute.
Yeah, you can hit the gun thing if you want, and then we'll move on to whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just give you. The audience knows that we're talking about it. We'll just get your take on it.
Yeah.
I'm going to mute you guys in about 10 seconds.
Okay, dude. All right, cool. Right on, Bill.
I have a column. My podcast is up today, by the way.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Devil Radio studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
And welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Mike Crute is off for the day. I'm the co-devil host, Dominic Salvia. Thank you for joining us. And I'm super happy in this happy hour to introduce our friend, the godfather of progressive talk, Bill Press. You can find him at billpresspods.com. Bill, it's been too long, man. Welcome back.
Hey, Dom, good to see you. Yeah, welcome back to you, too. Hey, so the godfather. There are a lot of people who would dispute that title, but thank you. Hey, what is it? You know, I've been to Madison several times. What is that bridge in the background? I've never seen that bridge.
Oh, this is in Michigan. I'm sorry, this is in Milwaukee. So that's the home bridge in Milwaukee. I broadcast out of Milwaukee. Crudy broadcasts out of Madison. Sometimes Milwaukee. So we got lots of studios, man. This media mogul that Crudy's turning into, man. It's we're all over the place now, Bill.
Hey, we got Madison, we got Milwaukee, we got Washington, D.C. right here. Right?
Right. And we got Minneapolis, we got Chicago. Man, we are growing. We got California. We're all over the place, Bill. So it's a joy to be with you again, my friend. We've been talking about, of course, this tragedy, another mass shooting, 1.7 mass shootings per day in this country, Bill. And this one in the Chicago suburbs of Highland Park. Some jackass gets an automatic or a weapon and gets on top of a building and just starts pecking off innocent civilians, Bill. And we get the usual thoughts and prayers. And literally, like Darren Bailey, he's the GOP mega gubernatorial candidate in Illinois, he comes on and says, well, this is terrible. 90 minutes after the people are shot, 90 minutes, an hour and a half, sends out a live feed on his Facebook to 111,000 followers saying, oh, it's tragic. Pray for the people and law enforcement. Time to move on and celebrate the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, what's your take on how the Republicans continually seemingly just dismiss these mass shootings?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, yeah, it is so sad. The idea, the 4th of July of all days, right? A small town, take your kids out, get the picnic chairs out, get the cooler and this nut on top of a building starts firing down into the crowd. It is so tragic, but at the same time, hate to be cynical, but this is America. I mean, what would the 4th of July be like in America without a mass shooting? It would not be America.
It's almost perfect in a terrible way.
In a terrible way, almost perfect. And what does it tell us? The message is so loud and clear. And so many idiots just don't get it. By the way, I was glad to see Governor Pritzker out there and said, everybody's going to say now's not the time to talk about guns. Now is the perfect time to talk about guns. It is. It's the only time. And yet, you saw what happened after Buffalo. You saw what happened after Uvalde even. This gang of Republican senators just down the street from me, right? They couldn't even bring themselves to raising the minimum age to buy one of these assault weapons from 18 to 21, right? You can't walk in a bar in Texas and buy a beer at 18. Right. You can walk into a gun store and buy an AR-15. It is such bullshit. Sorry, but it is. It is a bullshit piece of legislation that they passed that basically does nothing, really. I mean, I know it's the most that the Democrats could get the Republicans to agree to, but I don't know what I don't know what it's going to take, and I don't know what it's going to take for the American people to stand up and say, our kids are better than this. They're worth more than this. Our lives are worth more than this. We have to do something.
It's gonna. I mean, it's gonna take one of them getting shot, or it's gonna take one of their, sooner or later, someone that they care about is going to be impacted by gun violence, right? I mean, if you're talking about 1.7 mass shootings a day, let alone all the other, not mass shootings, only 2 or 3 people shot all over this country. I mean, we have more guns than people in this country. And Bill, what's your take? The thought that if somehow that all of a sudden we, as a country, decided, we're not going to let these particular weapons of mass destruction be allowed to be sold on a retail where you get your bowling shoes and your Nikes. You can go pick up your AR-15. We're not going to allow that anymore. We have a certain class, these types of things. We're gonna pare it down, right? And people just lose their freaking minds over that, Bill. And I'm thinking, well, you can't get a Tommy gun, you can't get a howitzer, system. You can't get a jet. If you're talking about taking down a tyrannical government, well, why don't you just do what Trump did? Try a soft coup, but you're not going to beat the military of this country with your AR-15.
It makes no sense at all. And by the way, what makes it even more dangerous now is this Clarence Thomas Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
Which came out with this latest ruling, which is really, I mean, look, we could spend too much time on this. I just wrote an op-ed piece that got a lot of flack because I wrote it for CNN, by the way. It was the CNN website. Repeal the Second Amendment. Stop debating it. Nobody's ever going to agree that it says the little bit that it says, right? Which is, if you're part of a militia, which, by the way, in those days were patrols, white supremacists, white nationalists, if you will, white supremacist patrols to keep the slaves in their place. That's what those militia were. And you could have a gun in your closet, in your house. Nothing about self-defense in the Second Amendment. That only came with a Heller decision, which was, 1997, I think, or something, that Scalia wrote. And now the Supreme Court has taken the Thomas Court one step farther and said, that Second Amendment, whereby you could keep that rifle in your house if you were a white guy hunting down slaves, now that means you can carry your gun anywhere you want, any gun you want, anytime you want. It's nuts. And they're just getting started, right? Yeah, like you, I don't know what it's going to take. I think I hate to make this just political, but one thing it's going to take is vote these damn Republicans out of office and put some people in there who will make some, Republicans or Democrats, by the way, who will make some, are willing, have the balls to make them good, sensible, common sense decisions about gun safety.
Let's go down on that briefly, Bill. If you repeal the Second Amendment, that does not mean that you do not. I mean, does that mean that nobody has a weapon, or does that mean you just no longer have the constitutional right, quote unquote, to a arms? How do you see that flowing through?
Well, when I say repeal the Second Amendment, I mean sort of included in that is replace it with something which makes sense for the 21st century.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, you want to go hunt Bambi? Well, that's your choice. But
yeah, but the weapons that they're getting to hunt people with, they're not going to use to hunt Bambi with, because you're not going to get any meat out of it. I mean, it's just a total destruction that is meant to kill and maim. Period.
Let me tell you, if the combination of this gun decision by the Supreme Court and the abortion decision by the Supreme Court don't motivate. Let me add one thing. And the announcement by Clarence Thomas that his next goal is to take the rights away from LGBTQ Americans who fought for that, who have been fighting for all of us, fighting for those rights, for the last 50 more years.
Well, and don't forget about the contraception. But one thing Clarence Thomas didn't have a problem with was interracial marriage, Bill.
I wonder why.
Strange how that works.
Yeah. So what I mean, if the combination of those three things, the abortion, the guns, and coming after the LGBT community, if that doesn't motivate young people to get out and vote in November, you know what? We're screwed. Yeah. And we deserve the mess that we're in. unless we.
We deserve the government we get, Bill, and it's not great right now. So
No,
hopefully
it's
we can
not.
all do a little bit better. Bill Press from the BillPressPods.com, friend of the Devil's Advocates. Bill, thanks for coming around, man.
Hey, listen.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You got
ahead.
something more on this issue? Okay.
I
know we got a few more minutes in this segment. But you got some time to stick around for a segment or two?
Sure.
Bill?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. I want to get some good news. You know, we've been talking about these terrible tragedies, and at 1.7 mass shootings a day, we could do an entire show only on mass shootings every single day. So let's talk about perhaps some areas where we might get some justice. Fulton County in Georgia, the DA has the grand jury. This is under the supervision of a judge, so this is not a political issue. Has now issued subpoenas for Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani, the attorney, and a whole bunch of others, including Senator Lindsey Graham, a senator getting subpoenaed by the Fulton County grand jury, along with Kenneth Cheeseborough, John Eastman, Jenna Ellis, and Cleta Mitchell. You know, this fine stack of attorneys that Trump surrounded himself with. It seems like this. I got to tell you, while I'm certainly appreciative of what J6 is doing and the testimony of Cassidy Hutchinson last week was compelling. But these state charges, I think, in this state grand jury might be the quickest route to some justice. We got a few minutes left in this segment. Bill, what are your thoughts?
Let me tell you, Fulton County, go Fulton County, right? What's amazing is that Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani, I wouldn't put Lindsey Graham in that case, but in that camp, but that Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump are still out of jail, and John Eastman are still out of jail. And the most legal trouble I think they're in is in Georgia, because this investigation is under, there is no doubt, we got the evidence, we heard the tape. They tried to get the Georgia election officials to commit a federal crime. Their fingerprints are all over it. Now, you know, I think Lindsey Graham, I'm not a big fan, but I don't think he was that as directly involved, but he certainly said some statements that supported what they were doing, which is why he's on the list. But this is trouble. And here's my question, and we'll leave it at this. We'll pick it up in the next if you want. My question is, why is Fulton County so red hot to go after Donald Trump, and Merrick Garland is sitting on his ass and letting Donald Trump get away with destroying our democracy? I thought trying to overthrow the United States government was a federal crime, at least a freaking misdemeanor. Right?
BillPressPods.com. Hold that thought, and I'll have an answer for you on the other side. You can join us as well, 844-967-2789. Come back with our pal Bill Press.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
So here's some tips for parents out there during these tough times.
Number one,
make sure your kids wash their hands for 20 seconds after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside. 2, virtual play dates, social and physical distancing can help save lives.
3,
tell them they're safe and show your love and pride. Yes, we'll get through this together. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the Assembly candidates.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates.
Aaron Mostovsky, who rioted at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, was dressed as Captain Caveman. QAnon shaman meets Law and Order.
Right. I mean, he pulled it off a whole lot better than Aaron Mostovsky.
Well, let me read a quote from the judge in this case. I hope you'll leave some of this fantasy world behind. Mostovsky was sentenced to 8 months in prison.
Looking at the guy, he might be one who loses his mattress on the first day.
Breaking news.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
for late nights writing English papers,
Or your teen's music taste.
for dinners where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Malarkey. The devil's advocates invented malarkey.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Our pal Bill Press from BillPressPods.com sticking around for at least another segment. Bill, appreciate you doing so. Let's talk briefly about Merrick Garland. We've seen this Fulton County grand jury in Georgia going after some of people around Trump, and your criticism, but I think to some degree is there that Garland is not doing what Fani Willis has been doing, and he's sitting on his ass. I kind of thought like that for a while, but I'm starting to think maybe not, man. Maybe he's actually got a buttoned up crew. I mean, when he got into the DOJ, first of all, he had to stop the bleeding. I mean, that place was a disaster after Barr, right? And all the things. So there's lots of issues there, and then you get this thing dropped in your lap, right? And now you got to go through the process. So let alone of the 700 or 800 people, and still several hundred apparently still not charged that they're looking for, going through that process. We know there's grand juries impaneled at least to look at some of these false fraudulent elector issues, right? So they're out there. They went and got Eastman's phone the other day, right? I mean, so as some of this information comes out, we see that the DOJ itself is actually following through. I'm with you. I perhaps think maybe it's not enough. I'd like to see it go faster. But I'm under the impression that the DOJ is not going to let this thing slide, Bill.
I hope you're right. I am somewhat encouraged by the fact that Merrick Garland gave a speech, remember, about a year ago, where he said, we're going to follow the facts, we're going to follow the truth, no matter where it leads, no matter how high it goes. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Okay, it's been a year. It's been 2 years that he's there. Where's the beef, I guess, is my question. I have interviewed at least 3 members of the January 6th committee. And I ask each of them if they have any evidence or any knowledge that Merrick Garland is conducting his the first question is, are they going to make criminal referrals to the Department of Justice? No, they can't do anything themselves.
Unless Cheney came out over the weekend and seemed to imply, or at least said that,
yes.
There could be more.
Yes, good for Lynn Cheney, right? Yeah, so they can, and she implied that they talked about it, I know, but they have not made that decision, and they may not. They may just issue a report. But the second question is, do they think that Merrick Garland, I've asked 3 of them, is conducting his own parallel investigation using the information that they're putting out there? Not one of the 3 said they saw any sign of that at all. Now, Zoe Lofgren, who's one of the ones I talked to, said that was appropriate, that we should not know what the Justice Department is doing.
Right.
Conducting this. But let me tell you, the clock is running, Dom. That's my problem. And now people are saying Trump is planning on announcing, right, early, maybe this month, maybe next month for 2024. And then Merrick Garland can't go after him because everybody's going to say, oh, it's political, right? He's a candidate now. You can't. And so he's, again, politicizing the Justice Department, which is rich, by the way, after Donald Trump turned the Justice Department and Bill Barr into his private lackey, right, and a private attorney. But I think Garland is afraid of criticizing that he is making it too political. We have a president of the United States. It's worse than we thought, particularly after, as you mentioned, that testimony last week by Cassidy Hutchinson. He summoned these people here. He knew they were armed. He sent them to the United States Capitol with their firearms to take on members of Congress, and he tried to join them himself. Hello, I mean,
right. That
I'm
seems
not a
somewhat
criminal at all.
problematic, right? I mean, that's probably not a great thing, right? And don't forget, get rid of the mags, get rid of the metal detectors on top of it, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Here, this thing, Bill, and again, I maybe we disagree on to the extent, and I'm hoping, and I'm a pessimist, but I try to be an optimist, Bill. That he's buttoned down, he's got a bead, and he's gonna do what he's got to do, and he's gonna be damned no matter what he does, right? He's going to be called political if he does or doesn't. He's going to be called a wimp if he doesn't. He's going to be political if he does. And so, but I got to believe that if we do not, as a country, right, through our justice system, investigate. I mean, maybe there's some exculpatory evidence we haven't seen yet, right? Because this is all a bunch of Republicans who work for Trump and were appointed by Trump testifying against him, which seemingly Trump and all the other MAGAs seem to forget about, Bill.
Right.
That we must, because obviously if this gets by, if you can get away with doing this, then everybody's going to do it, Bill.
Look, we know that indicting a former president of the United States is a big freaking deal, right? I mean, that is huge. And we should not do it. We should not do it lightly. I don't think in this case it would be done lightly, but we have to realize too, this is the first former president of the United States who has tried to tear down our democracy and is still trying to do it. So you can't just say, oh, former presidents have to be, kind of let off the hook. Nobody's ever tried to destroy this country the way Donald Trump is. And it was wrong in the Civil War. It was wrong when the British burned Washington. It's wrong when Donald Trump tried to burn it down.
Do you see the trend line, though? Obviously, going after the people that actually charged the Capitol, you're going after the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. They do have some negotiation. They do have some willing witnesses that are working with them in that regard. We know about the Willard Hotel war room. We know, according to Cassidy Hutchinson, the chief of staff Meadows wanted to, go in the room and hang out with the fellas and plan on that day. I mean, there's just so very much evidence. It would be really hard to believe that the DOJ isn't over every single step of it.
I think he has to do it for the sake of the country before November 4th or whatever the election day is. So everybody knows this guy is a criminal, or at least facing criminal charges.
He is a criminal. I'll say it, Bill. Bill Press, BillPressPods.com. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for hanging out, Bill. Always a pleasure to speak with you. Look forward to hanging out with you again real soon.
All right. You guys are the greatest. Anytime. See you later.
Thank you, Bill. See you, man. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates, coming back with your calls at 844-967-2789. We will be right back.
You're under arrest, Trump.
Do it now.
Come on, do it now!
WAUK 540 AM, Brookfield's choice for news talk radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com. Listen to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, Waukesha's only news talk radio station, bringing you a lineup of live talk radio every single weekday. Kick off your afternoon with local headlines and multiple trains of thought by listening to Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian. Tune in for the political party that is the Devil's Advocates radio show every day from 3 to 6 p.m. Right here on the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
Come on down to Mary Jane's on Main in downtown Waukesha. We are all things hemp, edibles, flowers, chocolate, Delta 8, 10, B, and O. We also have clothing, shoes, jewelry, toiletries, but most importantly, education. Come into the store. Let me educate you on all things hemp. Whether you smoke it or wear it, come and get it at Mary Jane's on Main. Or you can see us every Saturday at the farmer's market. I'm Mary, and let me show you how hemp can.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue in Highland Park, Illinois.
It is impossible to imagine the pain of this kind of tragedy until it happens in your backyard.
Mayor Nancy Rodering spoke after the names of 6 people killed at yesterday's 4th of July parade were released. A 7th person has died. Charges are expected to be filed soon against the accused gunman, Robert Cremo III. Lake County Police spokesman Chris Cavelli says Cremo had planned the attack and managed to get away by dressing as a woman. As far as a history with police, Covelli says there were 2 incidents in 2019, one about Cremo attempting suicide.
A family member reported that Cremo said he was going to kill everyone, and Cremo had a collection of knives. The police responded to his residence. The police removed 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword from Cremo's home.
Police in Illinois have not determined a motive. In Mississippi, a judge rejected a request by the state's only abortion clinic to temporarily block a state law that would ban most abortions. Without other developments in the clinic's lawsuit, the law will become effective in Mississippi Thursday. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is clinging to power after 2 of his most senior cabinet ministers quit, saying they had lost confidence in Johnson's leadership amid shifting explanations about his handling of a sexual misconduct scandal.
If I had my time again, I would think back on it and recognize that he wasn't going to learn any lesson, and he wasn't going to change.
The prime minister was forced to backtrack on earlier statements about a scandal that has rattled his government for the past 6 days. The governor of the last remaining eastern province, partly under Ukraine's control, urged more than 350 residents to flee as Russian troops escalated their offensive. Russia declared it had seized the neighboring Luhansk province. The Dow down 129 points. This is AP News.
From Up North News, I'm Pat Kreitlow. There's this conservative trope that gets dragged out every campaign season that says, if you criticize America, you must hate America. So it's no surprise that Republicans are criticizing Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes for criticizing slavery. That's certainly the crux of the criticism after a right-wing radio host dug up a nearly year-old video clip from Barnes, who is now a candidate for U.S. Senate. Congressman Tom Tiffany, meanwhile, was asked by a Sunday talk show host about the warming climate. His answer was to thank the Lord, he said, for a warming climate 10,000 years ago when ice covered Wisconsin, demonstrating a fundamental lack of understanding the difference between ice ages and what's happened since fossil fuel use ramped up here on the one planet we have. Details and more at upnorthnewswi.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making hasn't looked so good.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. Join us at 844-967-2789. I want to thank our friend Bill Press, BillPressPods.com, for joining us. Bill is a super cool cat, and that guy's been around, and he is very dialed in. And always appreciate Bill's perspective, even if I think Merrick Garland's doing maybe more than he thinks he's doing. But I love the pressure. Keep the pressure on the DOJ. If any of us did any of that, I would expect the hammer to come down pretty quickly. And if the hammer doesn't, then what are we doing? You know, if it's all about, well, I can't win in the courts, if I can't win in the election and I can't win in the courts, well, then I'm going to try to win by what? Taking it to the streets? I mean, that's, you know, antithetical to what this great experiment is. That's why we have, you know, elected bodies. That's why we have 3 separate but equal branches of government. That's why we have an opportunity for a person who loses an election to make their case, to go to court, fight like hell for every vote. But if you lose 61 out of 62 cases, and the one case you won, what, didn't count votes that weren't counted anyway? You know what I mean? You lost. So I don't believe that Trump believes that he lost the election. I believe that Trump believes that he doesn't care if he lost the election. He wants to remain in power. He needs that shield. He needs that Office of Legal Counsel's memorandum, which I absolutely disagree with. Another issue we should take away, that a sitting president cannot be charged criminally for acts while they're in office. I think that's a bunch of BS. I mean, you can compartmentalize anything. You got a team, you got a staff, go handle it. I mean, the way they drag these things out anyway, why give somebody a shield? And that's just it's just a memo. It's just a thought. I mean, how you can act like a king while you're president, but as soon as you're not president anymore, then the hammer's going to come down. Oh, unless of course you run up the statute of limitations, like he did with the obstruction of justice charges. so eloquently defined in the Mueller report. We haven't seen the unredacted one yet, but man, don't even get me going. So thank you, Bill Press and Garland, DOJ. Come on, get it together, man. Some news that we talked about from NBCnews.com. We mentioned Lynn Cheney over the weekend. I want to hit a couple of points to kind of reinforce that we are moving forward in this regard. Peter Nicholas from July 3rd, the House January 6th committee members said Sunday that they may make criminal referrals to federal prosecutors involving former President Donald Trump and his efforts to overturn the election. Fanning out on Sunday programs to discuss the congressional investigation and its public hearings. I must confess, I wasn't watching Sunday shows this weekend. It's a holiday weekend, man. The committee members said that while no formal decision has been made, they can envision multiple referrals to the Justice Department based on evidence they've uncovered investigating the events surrounding the attack on the U.S. Capitol. You think? Rep. Liz Cheney, the vice chair, one of two Republicans on the panel, said we'll make a decision as a committee about whether to alert the Justice Department to possible crimes it uncovered. The Justice Department doesn't have to wait for the committee to make a criminal referral, and there could be more than one criminal referral, she said on ABC's This Week. More than one. Oh, tell me more. She also pointed to the explosive public hearing last week in which Cassidy Hutchinson, the former aide to Mark Meadows, when he was in the White House, when he was the White House chief of staff, detailed outbursts of rage from Trump on the day he urged supporters to march to the Capitol. I don't effing care that they have weapons, Trump said as he urged aides to remove the mags near the White House before he addressed a Stop the Steal rally. They're not here to hurt me. I mean, what's the implication? They're not here to hurt me.
Yeah.
They're here to hurt other people.
But
Mike
also
Pence?
that you knew their intent. That you assumed that it doesn't matter. The guy's just he's a 5-year, he's a fifth grader that fell asleep in history class, was bored with it, and then got mad that he got a D. So rather than trying to learn history and do better, he's trying to ruin the entire the history teacher's life. So
burn it all down,
burn
right?
it all
If I lost, burn it all down. Well, and I wonder.
And I think you got that quote wrong. I think he said, "Catch up on the wall."
Yeah. Cheney went on to say, quote, "It's very chilling. And I think we will, continue to present to the American people what we found." Asked whether she was worried about prosecuting the former president, who may soon announce another presidential bid in 2024, Cheney said, "I have greater concern about what it would mean if people weren't held accountable for what's happened here." And I think that's my point. I mean, we have to, and again, it seems really weird saying this and coming from me, who's so not me, but we have to rely on these institutions. I mean, that is the point, because if we do not, then we are literally fighting in the streets. And I don't want to fight in the streets. We've done that, right? That's why we have the basis for our government. That's why we have these institutions. And all these institutions are made up of individual people, and we are flawed human beings, and we all have our own issues that we take to our table. We try to leave it at the door, and maybe if you're a bureaucrat, or maybe if you're a radio talk show host, or maybe if you're an elected official, you have different motivations, right? We all have whatever it is that is in our head through our journey in life, and we bring the baggage and the positive with us. So it's not like it's all going to be perfect. It's never going to be. There's no perfect, but it's better than most. And in order to remain better than most, we need to engage those things and engage and embrace our institutions. One other issue that didn't come up during our conversation with Bill Press that it's still in my head and I cannot get it out. And it is the Pentagon's role in all of this. Remember, Christopher Miller was assigned to head of the Pentagon under Trump after Trump lost the election. And Christopher Miller put out a memo prior to the January 6th coup attempt as to how the National Guard should address and approach and deal with the Trump supporters that are going to be there, basically handcuff them. Above and beyond that, Charles Flynn, Mike Flynn's brother, QAnon Mike Flynn, Mike Flynn who lied about talking to the Russians to the FBI, Mike Flynn who was charged and convicted, Mike Flynn who was pardoned by the president. Well, his brother, Mike Flynn, also obviously a lieutenant general or, some big wig in the military, he's still a QAnon freak. Doesn't, just because you made something of yourself in that regard, apparently doesn't shield you from the asinine nature of conspiracies. And don't get me wrong, I'm an X-Files fan. I love a good conspiracy. But come on, really? Really? The Democratic Party is a bunch of Satan worshiping, blood-sucking, child molesting groomers? And I think there's something to do with Mars in there as well. I can't even.
Lock her up.
Yeah, that guy. Well, his brother was in the room when the Pentagon and Army were talking about what was going on. The 187 minutes. Nothing happened for 187 minutes. I mean, Donald Trump had the cops were out in riot gear when Black Lives Matters came down to DC. Hell, they took him down to the shock room, right? They took him down to the safe room. When that happened, of course, he'll deny it, but that's the reporting. But for some reason, when all these people came down there and they were already storming on the Capitol, he was still giving his speech. He wasn't afraid. He was saying, take the mags away, take the metal detectors away, let them come in here. We played a clip last week during his speech, when he had the glass in front of him, which is also very strange. I've seen Trump give a dozen speeches live, maybe more. He never had the bulletproof glass thing in front of him, but this time he did. Oh, let him in. If all those people in the back could please let him forward, let him come in, let him come in. I mean, he said it like 3 or 4 times during his speech.
That's the thoughts and prayers glass.
Is that what it was? So Charles Flynn was in the room on the call, and the Army denied it like 3 times. They denied it 3 times, and they finally admitted it, but said, yeah, no big deal. And then basically referred back to their final statement on it, saying they have nothing more to offer. Now, Charles Flynn, to my understanding, has been promoted within the military structure over at the Pentagon. I don't know, keep your friends closer, your enemies closer, maybe. But we got a real big problem. I have a real big problem with what that looks like. You got a civilian. I mean, Christopher Miller was not of the Pentagon. He was not of Army stock. He was put in there by Trump after he lost the election. So I know I believe he may have testified. I'm not clear. I have to look that up. But I know it's been touched on, but it hasn't been, hasn't been researched to the degree that I think it needs. I mean, when you talk about, it's one thing to talk about the National Guard and not call the National Guard. It's one thing to even, talk about the executive branch. But you talk about the Pentagon, man. I mean, if the Pentagon gets politicized to the degree that the Justice Department did under the executive branch under Trump, that is a very, very scary perspective. And that is something that needs to be taken with deadly seriousness. And the fact that they lied about his involvement in the phone calls when that was all going down during the 187 minutes that Trump didn't do anything. Remember 187 on the Undercover Cop? Remember the songs, right, folks? That was a 187 on this country. Donald Trump tried to murder this country because he lost an election. They did a 187. The guy was gone for 187 minutes, didn't do jack. You see the reporting, you see the tape, and now you got the documentarian, his raw footage. I'm just saying, if you're gonna be involved in a coup, maybe don't record the whole thing. Maybe you leave some room for ambiguity there. But it would be so just and so righteous if Donald Trump's own narcissism and his family's own narcissism were the exact thing to bring them down. That would be supremely righteous.
It would be exactly a Greek tragedy, because that is that is hubris to the nth degree.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Anyway, back to the NBC News. Sorry about my little rant there, but what was hell was going on at the Pentagon, and how the hell is the cavalry not coming, man?
What I can tell you about the Pentagon and what I know is the Pentagon is a god that needs all of the money, trillions and trillions of dollars of money, or if we stop that money, we will all die instantly.
Well, and that's exactly how the Republicans certainly.
That's why we worship that god.
Well, maybe you should give him a little more money for some investigations. Come on, remember Pulp Fiction, Winston Wolfe? Come on, that's all you had to say. Bring on Winston Wolfe, man. Solve the problem. But when you have Mike Flynn's brother, and again, it's terrible. If it wasn't Mike Flynn's brother, right? That's one thing. They didn't lie about his involvement in the call. That's another. There's just all these little things. If Christopher Miller wasn't installed at the head of the Pentagon after Trump lost and put out this memo to the National Guard about how to, handle Trump supporters with kid gloves. All these things, they're all circumstantial, no doubt. But you got to be kidding me. I mean, how is that not a major focus of somebody's investigation? I mean, there's so many little bits and pieces of this that the DOJ has got to be involved. Anyway, a little bit more from the NBCnews.com. Adam Schiff also had a quote here regarding this. He concurred with Cheney that the committee might send multiple criminal referrals. He suggested the Justice Department would be mistaken to excuse Trump just because he's a former president. Yeah, no doubt. Here's what Schiff had to say. For 4 years, the Justice Department took the position that you cannot indict a sitting president. If the department were now to take the position that you can't investigate or indict a former president, then a president becomes above the law. Hard to kill. Steven Seagal.
He's right into the super Trump thing that he made his foreign policy based on Sicario 2, Day of the Soldat. His speech was riddled with actual references to Sicario 2, Day of the Soldat. My point is, the guy lives in a movie. That's why he thought he could grab the wheel of the SUV and somehow get himself to the place. And that's why he was so desperate to do it, because he needed to be part of the movie that he had created. But now is not. Whatever.
What do they say? When someone shows you or tells you who they are, believe them. And one of the weirdest times, and I've seen Trump so many times. I'm a little scarred because a little PTSD from Trump. But one of the first times I saw him, and I think he was still running, he wasn't president yet, and it was still in the beginning of the campaign. He came out and gave the snake poem. I'm a snake, and after he jumps on the back of something and it swims across and it bites him, and the animal says, "Why'd you bite me?" And the guy says, the snake says, "Well, I'm a snake. That's what I do." I mean, the guy literally read that. He read that in front of the crowd, verbatim. He told everybody, he told all of us exactly who he was. So let's just accept it. And let's have Merrick Garland Day. One more segment on the Devil's Advocates, 844-967-2789. We'll be right back.
If I'm curt, then I apologize. But as I understand it, we have a situation here, and time is of the essence.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. The good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much. I once used it too to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Mitch McConnell did make a public statement, right? After he voted to acquit, nothing says the president can't be prosecuted. Set the example for yourself.
Convince your caucus as to why the man is not fit to serve. How do you not use your leadership and say, you guys, this is crazy. We can't do this, and here is exactly why. Because now of the two major political parties, one of them is under the thumb of a fascist insurrection.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm Kirk Bangstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company in deep red northern Wisconsin, and I have a super PAC. We make good trouble by buying billboards, radio ads, and calls to voters in northern Wisconsin. We target federal and state elections, think Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany, and concentrate on a fair redistricting process. Give a donation now if you're able at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab. Help us make the politics of the Northwoods as clean as our lakes and streams. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab.
19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Feel like your emotions are all over the place? A healthy routine that includes enough sleep, exercise, and proper nutrition can help you feel more centered.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open 844-967-2789. You can hardly tell that Fancy Brian and I went and saw Stone Temple Pilots this weekend, can you?
Well, yeah, I'm mixing the albums up. You see, that's the important.
I appreciate that. And I think I totally butchered the snake poem, so you can Google it. But let me tell you, just to reiterate, Donald Trump was very clear that he was the snake that would bite you and kill you. He told us that. He told everybody that. So I just, want to reiterate without butchering this poem.
You remember that movie, Natural Born Killers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When they're tweaking out in the desert and they're doing a bunch of peyote, and that's they're playing a Nine Inch Nails song, something I could never have at the time. It's really, really freaky and messed up because that whole movie is Natural Born Killers.
Yeah, totally right.
But in that part of the movie, that's when one of the tribal elders tells them about the snake, and then they kill him, I believe. So I don't know. Natural Born Killers, they end up killing everybody. So I'm
that's really follow the movie's theme there.
But they do tell that story. That's how I know that.
Yeah, I mean, Trump. You can't. I mean, say what you want. I mean, he's a narcissistic psychopath. But he told me that day, and I believed him ever since. 844-967-2789. Joe from Madison, Wisconsin. You're up. Welcome, Joe. What do you got for us?
I think there's a great deal to this idea that he believes he's in a movie, and by God, he's going to win. And I think you're right on the money, both of you, with your analysis this way. For what other reason would he have to enter the Capitol in a triumphant, Julius Caesar type mode, where he comes in and grabs control, and people throw gold coins at him and bow down and tell him what a brilliant man he is? I mean, if he were a sensible narcissist mafioso guy, he'd have his minions do it. But instead, he wants to be out there and, be the one. What are you going to have, a duke it out with Nancy Pelosi? What are you going to, find Mike Pence and deliver the knife right under the breastbone and get to the guy?
I think, Joe, that's a great point. I think if it were to happen, he'd stand up at the steps somehow, some way, and all of his white Christian nationalist fascists would round up, Nancy Pelosi, AOC, and Mike Pence and bring them to the gallows one by one, because they did erect a gallows there, Joe. And Donald Trump would triumphantly give the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Are you not entertained, Joe?
Yeah, that's
Are you not entertained?
The problem is I'm not entertained. I'm horrified. And I honestly, it's just, if you really wanted to be successful, you'd have your little minions do it. You wouldn't be in there leading the charge, which tells you what we've been dealing with, which is a guy who's all about making statements as if he's in a movie. I'm going to make Mexico build the wall. I mean, beyond all logic and reason. And that's what we've been dealing with. And it's sad to see what the effect of that is, because the Supreme Court is the result of this maniacal showboating. And boy, is it going to be, a real death blow for a lot of people. So anyway, thanks for the show today. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you as well. As always, 844-967-2789. And I remember because, as mentioned, I saw Trump lots of times at lots of rallies across this country. And all of a sudden, he just started throwing it out there. Oh, we're going to build the wall. Another town a couple weeks later, and we're going to build the wall. Another town a month later, and we're going to build the wall. And Mexico's going to pay for it. And then the crowd reacts. Yeah. Everybody was all they're freaking out. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, make Mexico. That'll be great. That'll be great. It was so Leslie Nielsen from The Naked Gun who was calling strikes.
That's exactly where I was going, man. It's totally him. He's like,
oh man, I love this. It's great.
Yeah, strike. Vacuum cleaning and
it's just we're just doomed. No, we're not doomed. We are not doomed. We will not be doomed. We will not let ourselves be doomed. That's why we coalesce together. We reach out. We hang out together. We cry on each other's shoulders. We hug each other. We laugh. We smoke. We drink. We cry. And then we get up and do it all again. But hopefully we make progress every day. We try a little harder every day. We convince somebody else another day. And I'm convinced. I remain optimistic that the DOJ will do their thing. And obviously the J6 is still coming down. We're going to have more hearings, folks. They started out with 8, then went back to 6, and then they had the surprise one. I would imagine we're going to have at least a couple more. And that's just on that side, let alone Don't forget Tish James, state of New York. Don't forget the Manhattan DA. I know some folks are not down on what's his name, Biggs. Alvin, I think his name is. Not necessarily moving as quickly, replacing some people. That might be an issue. Obviously, we talked about Fulton County's grand jury getting closer and closer. These things, unfortunately, take time, but I remain optimistic. So before the end of the show, I just got to throw this one out here. Wisconsin's Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes running for Senate, U.S. Senate, wants to take on a bunch of other fine Democrats and then go up against Ron Johnson. But according to Bill Glauber at the Journal Sentinel, JS Online, well, he's coming under fire for comments he made a year ago about the teachings of slavery and the founding of the country. Quote, imagine being so ashamed of how we got to this place in America that you outlaw teaching it, Barnes said in apparent reference to slavery. And things were bad, Barnes said in a video clip on August 19th in Portage, Wisconsin, that was posted on Twitter by conservative talk host Dan O'Donnell. Things were terrible, Barnes said. The founding of this nation, ? Awful. But here we are now, and we should commit ourselves to doing everything we can to repair the harm because it still exists today. The harm, the damage, whether it was colonization or whether it was slavery, the impacts are felt today, and they're going to continue to be felt unless we address it in a meaningful way.
Shocking, Dom. Shocking.
No, hell no. Republicans are having none of it. They can't believe it. Oh my God. What is Barnes doing? Terrible, terrible, terrible. Former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish, who Barnes replaced when he got elected. She's running for the Republican primary for governor, called on Evers to repudiate Barnes's remarks. Governor Evers. She tweeted, I love America and our founding principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Evers needs to call his lieutenant governor for these awful comments about our great nation. Unless, of course, he agrees. And Rebecca, Becky, sweetheart, I'm not going to be like that about it. Becky, you wouldn't be able to run for office back then. You weren't a man. Probably wouldn't own land. You had no rights. You couldn't vote. So what are you talking about? What, half of the founding fathers-ish owned slaves? A bunch of them? Right? You got to be a landowner. You got to be white. You couldn't. Come on. Yes, Mandela Barnes is absolutely right. James Baldwin. I love America more than any country in the world. And exactly for that reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. Happy 4th, everyone. Thanks for listening. Curdy's back tomorrow. We're going to light them up. Never stand down. Never stand by. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks.
Things I said to you.
The one thing we know, and they do say, anybody that runs against Trump suffers.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
It's Enrico Palazzo.
Get over it.
No matter what era of life you're in, ERA's Senior Network is here for you. For older adults in an era of life after retirement, ERA's can